Welcome to the Pastcast. I'm your host, Miss Katorchia, with this week's history lesson. Today's episode, we will be discussing the Triangular Trade. What was the Triangular Trade? The Triangular Trade route was a transatlantic voyage between the 16th and 19th centuries. Manufactured goods, crops, and slaves were transported all over Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Countries bartered or traded goods for other products and money to keep the trade system flowing. The triangular trade consisted of three main countries which exchanged with one another. England sailed goods to Africa, Africa sailed goods to the Americas, and the Americas sailed back with goods to England. Each country's voyage took about 5 to 12 weeks to complete. So what types of goods were used for shipping? Exports, or goods sent out for profit, were exchanged for imports, goods taken in for purchase. First, England shipped their exports to Africa in exchange for imports. Some of the exports sent out by England included guns, cloths, ammunition, and beads. Next, Africa shipped exports like spices, gold, and slaves to the Americas on a leg of the triangular trade known as the Middle Passage. About 12 million Africans were kidnapped and forced into slavery. They made the dangerous journey to the Caribbean and 13 colonies. More than 2 million slaves died from disease, violence, suicide, and lack of food and water. Those who survived were sold at auction and remained slaves until their death. Finally, the Americas shipped various cash crops back to England. The Americas consisted of the 13 colonies and the Caribbean. They produced important crops like cotton, sugar, tobacco, and indigo. Once those goods were received, England produced a new batch of exports, and the cycle began again. This happened so long ago. Why do we still study it? Understanding the triangular trade is important when studying American history. The triangular trade had marvelous impacts on the multiple nations and groups involved. The triangular trade helped ignite abolishment of slavery due to its harsh treatment of Africans. It also sparked centuries of prosperous international trade and revenue. Various crops and goods were introduced to many different parts of the world. And that is the triangular trade. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Pastcast discussing the triangular trade. I will see you next time as we travel back to the lost colony of Roanoke. Bye, and see you next time on the Pastcast.